Right now, countries are quietly selling daylight through invisible cables under the sea, keeping millions of homes lit at night in one nation, while another cashes in on the power bill.
You mean there's a hidden grid where sunshine from one coastline pays for skyscrapers on another?
Yes, one North Sea cable can quietly flip enough power for more than 1 million homes in the UK, while a 4,300-kilometre project that could send Australian desert solar straight into Singapore's skyline. These undersea lines are quietly turning clean energy into geopolitical leverage. In our last episode, we went in 3 different countries that are mining deep underground to challenge the Chinese monopoly on rare earths and magnets. Today, we are going underwater to find an interesting grid of power cables.
I thought electricity and water don't go well together. What do you mean? Is there a power grid offshore?
Exactly. The best places to harvest clean energy, Norway's reservoirs, Morocco's trade winds, Australia's deserts, are often far from the people who use it. Undersea high-voltage direct current, HVDC, is how countries move that electricity hundreds or thousands of kilometers with relatively low losses, linking separate national grids without destabilizing them.
And because the cables are literally buried in the seabed, nobody sees how dependent we're becoming on them.
Before we explore the invisible grid under the oceans, where energy security, money, and climate targets now meet, like this video and subscribe to our channel. This helps us make more of these videos. Let's start with the North Sea Link. It's a 720-kilometre HVDC cable running under the sea from Blyth in England to Kvildal in Norway at depths up to 700 meters. At full tilt, it can share up to 1,400 megawatts of power, enough to supply about 1.4 million UK homes, with renewable electricity flowing both ways.
So when Britain has too much wind, it sends that surplus to Norway. And when the wind drops, it buys Norwegian hydro back?
Exactly. Norway uses British wind to save water in its reservoirs. Britain uses Norwegian reservoirs like a giant battery when its own grid is under strain.
If you quietly rely on that cable, losing it for any reason, storms, faults, politics, means one less safety valve for millions of people.
That's the geopolitical twist. As Europe builds more of these interconnectors, each line becomes both a tool for resilience and a strategic asset that governments and regulators can weaponize or protect. And North Sea Link isn't alone. Viking Link, 765 kilometers between the UK and Denmark, trades up to 1,400 megawatts of mostly wind-powered electricity across the North Sea.
So the North Sea is turning into a hidden mesh of cables, an underwater market where countries swap wind and water instead of just gas. Regional swaps are one thing, but what about cables that actually redraw energy maps?
That's the logic behind the X-Links Morocco to UK power project. A British company plans about 10.5 gigawatts of solar and wind in Morocco, plus a 20 gigawatt-hour battery, then ship 3.6 gigawatts of firm power to the UK via 4 HVDC cables, totaling roughly 3,800 kilometers.
So UK homes could be lit at night by yesterday's sun over the Sahara, and each kilowatt is money flowing back to Morocco.
Yes, the project aims to deliver reliable green power for more than 20 hours a day, enough to cover around 7 million British households, while creating thousands of jobs and major foreign investment in Morocco.
In other words, energy independence for the UK becomes energy exports for Morocco, both plugged into the same invisible line.
There are risks: finance, permits, politics. But if it succeeds, it proves that sunlight and trade winds can become a strategic export like oil once was.
Is anyone else trying something on that scale?
Yes, the Australia-Asia Power Link, often called Sun Cable, plans a roughly 4,300-kilometre HVDC route carrying solar power from Australia's Northern Territory to Singapore. The blueprint is around 17 to 20 gigawatts of solar, 36 to 42 gigawatt-hours of storage, and up to 6 gigawatts of export capacity, enough to cover up to 15% of Singapore's electricity demand once fully online in the early 2030s.
So Australia becomes a renewable super exporter, and Singapore buys stability and cleaner air through a single invisible artery under the sea.
It's framed as a win-win. Billions in investment and jobs for Australia, a major cut in gas dependence for Singapore, and a flagship of daylight as an export commodity.
But the pattern stays the same. The more you rely on one cable, the more your energy future depends on distant decisions, permits, maintenance, foreign policy.
That's why this invisible grid isn't just an engineering story, it's a map of who can buy, sell, and sometimes veto power in the decades ahead.
Many of you said we should always ask, what is China doing about this? So, are they also laying global super cables, or something different?
China's strategy right now is more about mastering the hardware and exporting it. Domestically, it's building subsea and subseabed cables to tie islands, offshore wind farms, and coastal provinces into its grid. For example, a 500 kilovolt underwater link across the Cheongzhou Strait is designed to double transmission capacity to Hainan Island, easing blackout risks and supporting new renewable projects.
So they stress test the tech at home, then sell it abroad.
Yes, in Zhoushan, engineers buried land-type cables beneath the seabed to avoid damage from anchors, creating a model for short-distance island interconnectors. Chinese manufacturers like Orient Cable are now winning contracts for high-voltage export cables in offshore wind projects and participating in interconnections such as the Crete mainland Greece link, which helps cut hundreds of thousands of tons of CO2 and turns Crete into a potential renewables exporter.
So control isn't just about where a cable goes. It's also about who builds it, who finances it, who can service it when something goes wrong.
Exactly. Europe's grid operators, Western manufacturers, and Chinese firms are all racing to own pieces of this buried infrastructure, because that's where future influence over energy flows will live.
If we zoom out, what does the new energy map actually look like?
Britain plugs into Norwegian reservoirs and Danish wind through North Sea Link and Viking Link. The UK plans to tap Moroccan sun and wind through X-links. Singapore prepares to import Australian daylight via Sun Cable. Greece's islands tie into mainland Europe with China-backed technology. These cables lower emissions, balance grids, and help countries hit climate targets, but they also quietly redraw who depends on whom.
It sounds like the invisible grid is both a safety net and a new hierarchy. Some countries sell stability, others buy it.
It can be more than that. If we design it right, multiple routes instead of single lifelines, shared ownership instead of one dominant supplier, regional meshes instead of isolated lines, all reduce the risk of energy blackmail.
So, if you're watching this at home, what should you really take away?
That the future of power isn't just panels on roofs or turbines on hills, it's who controls the cables beneath the sea. Right now, those decisions are being made quietly, and they'll shape who stays lit, who gets paid, and who holds leverage in the next energy era.
And this is only one chapter of the invisible grid story.
If you want more deep dives into the buried infrastructure that decides our energy future, on land and under the oceans, subscribe to the Green Blueprint, hit the bell, and share this with someone who still thinks energy politics stops at the border.
Thanks for watching. Stay green, stay healthy, stay informed.